3-mark phone saw testing 3. We're working.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
Max?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the school side of things. So as we are transitioning back into blended learning, high school and middle school students are still going either Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday, based on their last name. And then elementary school students are still going every day to school. And recently, Life Touch has come into the high school, and the Salem group has had their pictures taken for the yearbook on the 8th, which is Thursday, I believe. And the West group will have theirs on the 19th. So as we're, kind of transitioning into that for middle of the year, they've also set a tentative date for homecoming, which is October 23rd. So I know much of the high school is hoping that we'll be able to have that in a safe way and be able to have a good homecoming this year.
Okay. Any questions for either Max or Maddie?
I have a question. On Fridays, it's an opportunity to connect if you have questions with your teacher or requests. Have either of you taken advantage of that, or any other students taken advantage of that?
Yeah, I know certain students have taken advantage of that. I know one benefit is a teacher can request that a student comes into their office hours and they can talk about maybe something they're not understanding or something like that. But I really took advantage of that before we went to blended learning. When we did where certain hours taught certain days. So if I had classes in the afternoon, I would have an opportunity to go to office hours before those classes. I really took advantage of that. I thought it was great, especially when before we were in blended learning, before we were going to school. I thought it was a great opportunity to be able to talk to the teacher kind of one-on-one about maybe something you were understanding. So I certainly took advantage of that before. I still am slightly a lot less now that I have concrete time with the teacher. And if I have questions, I can stop in, after the class or before school and talk to them a little bit. But I think, it's a great opportunity to have, especially for, specific question that we need to interview.
You said it well. Okay, Ken?
I have, so on your virtual thing, the hybrid, are you tuning into a class then?
No, we are not. So, go ahead.
I'm wondering, what are you doing?
So what most teachers are doing is they'll send out a week plan. So and it's actually really cool. Every teacher is using the same platform, so it's a lot easier than in the past, where some teachers will use a certain platform and some use the other platform. So I just want to say that's really convenient. But what most teachers do is they'll separate it into both days, and then they'll have an agenda for the whole week, so we can really get a good picture of what we're doing. So on those virtual days, they'll post an assignment, and then we will do that assignment on the day we're not there. Myself, I don't go to school on Tuesdays or Thursdays, so I'll do that on the Tuesday, and then when I come back to school Wednesday, I have all that done and we can get right into learning. So I do not tune into any students on the virtual days.
Other questions? Okay. Thank you for that report. Next up is correspondence, and I don't think we have anything in here. While you're checking citizen participation, I wanted to recognize that this week is school lunch week, and a big thank you to everyone that works hard to feed our district's kids. And then also last week was School Board Appreciation Week, and a shout out to the 6 of my teammates here tonight.
Or the 7.
Well, okay.
I can say a shout out to the 7 of you for everything that you do, so you can take some credit too.
Okay. But appreciate everything that you do to serve our district's kids and staff and families. So thank you. Pat, do we have anyone? Okay. Skipping over citizen participation because there's no one signed up. We'll go to reports, and first up is CISA number 4, Board of Control. Jane.
All right, our meeting was last week, and it included a presentation. The main part of the meeting was a presentation from Tracy Herlitsky. She's the director for the WISH portion of the services at CISA, and that stands for Wisconsin Safe and Healthy Schools. She has received a $3.5 million grant, which is the largest in CISA history. The grant will fund programming for 2 years to provide training and technical assistance in the area of mental health. 9 positions, we approved 9 positions for that, so they're really, really excited about that. So 9 regional coaches were hired to run that program. Another contract approved was for a social worker that will divide their time between the Bangor, Wanawak, and Lafarge school districts. It's a contract of 144 days and it is benefit eligible. It does have room to go to full-time if more districts sign up. Early on, they thought they were only going to have 2 schools and then they wouldn't have been able to have it at all, but a third one signed on, so now they're able to do that and with room to grow. So the lawnmower broke down at CISA, so buy a new lawnmower. Other than that, things were cool there. Our next meeting is November 4th.
Okay, thank you. Board, any questions for Jane? And Jane, you've got the next one, which is the workforce engagement and development.
Okay, yeah, we met tonight before the meeting here, and we have a bunch of changes or additions or corrections. A lot of rewording that are going to be added to the employee handbook, and that comes up later for approval on the agenda.
Okay, any questions for Jane? Okay, thanks. We'll move on to business operations report with Tom.
Okay, we went over basically the proposed 2020-21 budget, mill rate and tax levy. Again, everything's speculated. We won't know the hard numbers until the 15th, which we're hoping on the 26th. We'll have all that finalized for that meeting, so we'll know where we're sitting and what we're doing and how we're doing it. And then we also went over a resolution on some borrowing and then a refinance, which we are later discussing in the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Tom? All right, thanks, Tom. We'll move on to district strategic initiatives, updates by the superintendent's team.
We have our board reports in there. You read the proclamation for National School Lunch Week, which was this week, and thank you to Emily Klunk and her staff. And I did iterate earlier, but Rick Klein's been a valuable member of that as well, with helping to deliver meals to households throughout our community and whatnot that have taken those for deliveries. So, you know, he's been part of that team here at the beginning of the year, him and his people. There's also a proclamation for Keeping Kids Safe Online Month, talking about digital citizenship. And I know some of those lessons go on within our buildings in our library media center when students go to LMC or whatnot during the day. I know Mary Hunt does a good job of that at the elementary school, and same thing happens with Lindsay at the middle school. And I know, you know, those things continue to go on at the high school as well. And then Gifted and Talented, or Gifted Education Month as well. So those are 3 proclamations that are out by the state this month. I do also want to say that I did receive notice today that our football team will be receiving a $1,000 gift from the Green Bay Packers. We had the highest, the greatest increase of numbers from last year compared to this year across the state. So the Packers are giving a $1,000 grant, I think.
Did they deliver it themselves?
Not yet, not yet. Maybe we'll catch a pass from Aaron Rodgers from Green Bay here, or airmail it here or something like that. But that's pretty encouraging to hear as well. So.
Excellent news.
Been through all the buildings here in the last week and a half or week and then a day, and you know, things are going, and been able to talk with a lot of staff, and you know, at the elementary school, at the middle school, and the high school, and you know, listening to some of the things that are going well, listening to some of the challenges that are being faced, and you know, working with our administrative team to help problem solve some of those things as well. So.
Okay. Yes.
I actually had a question for Deanna. I saw in your report you're looking for protocols for students not engaging.
So it's more the attendance, but online, you know, so we can't really say attendance on a exact time frame when we do it. So we look for engagement. So we're looking at how are we going to reach out to those students? So we put in protocols that if the teacher's reaching out by email and by phone to the students and the parents, and then if we aren't seeing the progress we want, then they're reaching out to the building's guidance counselors, and then bringing in administrative staff and myself, and just, we really want them to keep engaged. We don't want anybody lost in the shuffle. So it's a great opportunity for students, but we still want to make sure that we're monitoring very closely as if they were with us.
And Deanna, I had a question asked to me by a community member, and in a reply that Catherine had sent to a parent. Is enrolling in the CRVA still an option? If not now, when will it be again?
We are going to open it fully in December, but I have to be honest, we have included some of them into, if they reached out because of our change in some of our parameters that we had. So I have enrolled some. If they reach out to me personally and we can talk through things, I want to make sure that I'm talking to all the families to know they're jumping in 25% of the way through, and the curriculum is a little different. If they stay with it all year, they get the same curriculum because it's based on the standards. When you jump in, it could be out of order. For example, if you have electricity first module and they come back into the district, you might have it at, second quarter or something along that line. So there is a little disruption with jumping in and out. So we kind of want to keep that as steady as possible. So as long as we reach out and they talk to me, we can make the best decision for their families. And we have done that. We've had some that have come out, and then we added a couple this week.
Because I thought you had said in the beginning that it was closed and that was it.
We did close, but after discussing with a lot of the families and their needs that they needed to have, we did, we talked them through it and opened it. It is an option.
Okay.
But I just want everybody to understand the consequences of jumping in at this point versus a semester is very different. So
Because I had told them no, that it was closed, so I will go back and tell them that.
please
if they
reach out.
to
Yeah,
you
just
and-
have them
okay.
reach out to me and I can kind of help guide that. And some, after talking to many families, they choose to remain in the decision that they chose.
Okay.
But we always want to serve our families and do what's best for their students. And again, it will be open in December for everybody. We're just gonna open it up and do the re-registration.
Okay, very good.
Other questions? Do you have anything else to add, Ryan?
Nope.
How about Tammy or Mike? Do you guys have anything that you'd like to share?
As far as other than what's on our reports, or I know one thing that was a timing issue for us. We had talked at the last board meeting that we were finally getting all of the iPads in for K through 2. Since then, we put a crew together and got iPads ready for grades K through 2 in 2 days. It was an amazing event, and a huge shout out to Kathy Hilby because she took time on top of all of that and went into the classrooms to show them how to get things set up. So all of a sudden we have 3 grades out of nowhere with this technology, which is amazing. And as far as any troubleshooting right now, knock on wood, we're doing really good.
Excellent.
It doesn't happen very often
No,
with that many.
right?
How's it going being in class 5 days a week? Are the teachers able to handle that workload of teaching 5 days a week?
I think yes and no. They're making the best of the situation, but without having that extra day of prep, especially when we are considering switching our learning platforms, it can get really difficult. I think one of the differences at the elementary is that the teachers are with the same students all day, but then that means that they're also in charge of 5 to 6 different curriculums that they have to get ready. So they're finding it to be a very hefty load that way. It has been very helpful to have a little bit of continuity with 2 weeks at a time, that they felt they could have a little bit more breathing time this last weekend, knowing that they didn't have to get ready for a new learning platform. But we're just taking it week by week and seeing what we can do to have the best impact with our students.
Can you explain what you meant there, Tammy, by the 6 different curricula? I don't understand that.
Sure. So at the elementary, if I'm a 3rd grade teacher, I'm teaching the English, the math, the phonics, the writing.
Which they've always done, correct?
Yep, you bet.
I don't understand what's different.
So when it comes to getting all of those lessons ready for online learning, it's a lot of planning that way with the platform of Seesaw, where they have to make the videos to get ready to send out.
Okay,
So it's a lot of extra planning that they spend a lot of time on. And there are some templates out there that are helpful, but it's just a pure time factor.
sure. Are they using the paras for any support to the teachers so they can get some prep time, being that they have the kids in the classroom all day?
We have paras scheduled for morning recess time where they get a little bit of a break. We have paras scheduled for being in their rooms during lunch so that they can get a half an hour lunch. And Lisa and Gail and Lindsay and myself have been manning the lunchroom along with other people we're training in to really make that a very successful experience for everyone there. We are looking at some other options right now that we're needing to wait to see if things are going to work before we say anything of what they are at this point, but we're really working on, and we know that time is very, very important, and we're trying to maneuver our way through this the best we can to provide as much time as possible.
Sure, because I think that would go a long ways to it if they get that, a lot of prep time.
Yes. We're working on it, certainly doing the best we can in this situation. So
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Mike, did you have anything that you would like to add for the high school?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I guess I would just add that one of the things that we've quickly come to recognize, we knew this was going to be a situation or different, but I'm not sure that we recognize how fast it would change, is the number of kids, and we've had a few staff members who have been placed on quarantine. So, they were told they can't come to school, and then managing that whole piece has become quite daunting, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger each and every day, and keeping track of start dates and end dates and how long are they out. So that's something that has become a procedural thing that we've created a plan, and it seems to be working. But after being back to school for just 6 days, it's quite surprising the number of kids that are in that spot. And I think we're shocked to recognize how fast that's happening.
What is the protocol, Mike? How many days when they've been exposed you put them out for?
It varies a little bit. If they have had a direct exposure to someone who's tested positive, they're out 14 days. If they have had an indirect exposure, it might be 10 days. Some of it has to do when they experience symptoms. One of the things that has made that much, much more difficult is if a student has, or a staff member for that matter, 2 symptoms, but they don't actually, for example, let's just say Mike Millett wakes up tomorrow morning with a headache and a cough or a sore throat. I would be told that I can't come to school for 10 days unless I get a negative COVID test. So lots of our normal cold, cough, flu, sinuses, allergy symptoms deem us to be quarantined for COVID type of symptoms until we have a negative test. And then of course, depending on where you go get tested, it might be 48 or 72 or potentially a little bit longer hours before you get those test results back. So it doesn't necessarily mean someone has COVID just because they're in quote quarantine, but they have symptoms that's causing them to have to go get tested, and they can't come back to school right away.
Just a heads up, Mayo is quicker. I had my results in 6 hours.
It is.
We've talked
We're
about
not-
that too as a means where you can utilize Mayo to go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We're not trying to be biased, but we've actually also got that inside information.
Yes, Ken?
Mike, how are the attendance rules working at the athletic events and the other extracurricular events that we put in place with the tickets?
Ironically, Ken, we haven't had an event yet.
Okay.
Actually, that's not true.
You have a volleyball game tonight.
It's away though. It's at
Oh,
home.
okay.
We have a home volleyball game tomorrow night, and we have a JV home football game tonight. So those lower level football games typically aren't high level attendance anyhow, but I guess we're going to find out tomorrow night as it's our home volleyball game. But this week we have volleyball on Tuesday, Thursday at home, followed by we'll see how it goes, first Friday night football game at home this coming week.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions?
Yep, Mike, what, you were gonna check and see what Onalaska was doing at the football game as far as outside of the fencing area and
Yep.
how they police it? Did you get any feedback on how that went in Onalaska?
I did. Well, first of all, we caught wind on Friday that we were going to have a number of students who planned on attending and hanging out outside of the fence. So we sent out some communication through email and through Sam. And lo and behold, our kids did a great job and respectful. So we didn't have any kids there. Our athletic director, Ryan Olson, also went to the game. We did have some West Salem adults who were outside of the fence of the stadium area. Onalaska took on the same protocols that we had as far as giving people numbers of tickets. One of the things that's a little bit different in Onalaska that it is at our place is that other than their immediate parking lot, all of the areas surrounding their stadium is private property. So they really didn't have any jurisdiction as a school district telling people they can or could not be there. But Onalaska basically said they were going to really only worry about trying to enforce that number of people allowed into the games and what was taking place outside of the stadium. They, I guess, shed a blind eye.
Okay, thanks, Mike. And we'll move on to the consent agenda, which includes minutes of the regular board meeting of September 28th, 2020. Invoices to be paid and a resignation from Angie Hemker from Odyssey of the Mind, head coach.
I'll make a motion to approve all.
I'll second.
A motion is second. Is there any discussion?
I just want to say, as a parent whose daughter participated in Odyssey of the Mind, I think Angie wrote it very well, that how much of her time and energy it took to run that program. And I just want to say thank you. That's a huge loss that you're stepping down, but appreciate the time that you gave to the district and for the incredible opportunities all of our kids had through that. So.
Right, 13 years. She was the,
I went with an experience just a couple of times judging, and it really is quite the experience for kids, and a lot of work goes into it for sure.
I had a chance to talk with her, actually saw her sitting on our front porch playing with her new puppy, and I stopped up and talked to her about this. She's been a driving force for Odyssey of the Minds for so many years, and I really think it makes our students think outside the box, and it's just, I think it's an important enough event that we should maybe take a look at the amount of time that whoever runs that program puts into it, and make sure that the success that she's built is not lost, and that we continue with the program. So
I was gonna say, when you talk about someone that serves with passion, she definitely served with passion in this role. Not that she doesn't in her normal role as an art teacher, because we all know the great thing that she does as an art teacher throughout our district. But when you talk about serving with passion and carrying that over to after school, being an advisor, and she's done a tremendous job in that role.
And in all areas of the Odyssey of Mind, from wrangling up volunteers and parents and keeping everybody on track. I mean, that's a huge,
and fundraising.
yeah, it's huge.
So I don't know, maybe that's something you can just keep your, maybe it's something that you normally wouldn't keep your eye on, but it's something that we all agree has that much of an impact on students. Maybe that's something you can keep your eye on and make sure that we get somebody to step up and run that program. And then again, the amount of time it takes and the compensation is not a heck of a lot. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's something we need to take a look at a little bit, but that's a different conversation. Thank you.
all right. Any more questions or everybody take a vote? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. And we'll move on to discuss, consider, and take action if appropriate regarding strategic initiatives, with first being the proposed 20 to 21 budget, mill rate and tax levy. That's attachment E in your packet.
We went through that at the business ops meeting, and really that was an informational item that we went through at that point in time. Just as we get ready to prepare for the upcoming annual meeting on October 26th.
Okay. I think most of us were here for that committee meeting. Is there any questions on that information item? Okay, next move on to resolution. I have to read the whole thing, right, Pat? Okay. Be it resolved that the school district of West Salem will borrow on a short-term basis the sum of $5,500,000 for the operation of the schools of the district, with $2,750,000 on October 15th, 2020, with an additional $2,750,000 on November 13th, 2020, with a payment of $1,842,000 to be made December 18th and January 22nd, and the final payment of $1,839,000 plus interest on February 26th, 2021.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I think we should just explain
That's what I was gonna.
why we're borrowing.
Exactly.
The reason why we're borrowing is this is on a consistent basis, our fund balance is what it is, it's a lower rate. We borrow at this point in time because we're actually at a point where we're out of dollars from our first payment from equalized aid. We get our next equalized aid payment in December, which makes our first payment portion of it. And this carries us over through January and February, because as everybody knows, property tax payments start coming in and the district starts getting their share in January and February, and this fills that gap until that.
Thank you, Sean. Are there any additional questions or discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And chair votes aye, motion carried. Next is refinancing of referendum debt from a rate of 3.4% to 2.5%. And the Business Operations Committee also discussed that tonight.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Sean, do you want to offer some clarity on what we're doing there?
Sure, it's a referendum approved debt of 1.5 million that we borrowed a few years ago. We paid off $900,000 that first year. The $600,000 was left. We had a discussion with our local debt advisor, Baird, asking us to see if we could lower some of our rates, to see if we get better rates at this point in time. Reached out to our local Union State Bank, Steve Zeman, and he could lower it from 3.4 to 2.5% at no cost. The savings is about $5,000. It just makes sense moving forward at this point.
Okay, thank you. Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, motion carried. Next is item D, the employee handbook update, and then it's attachment F in your packet. And Workforce Engagement and Development Committee met tonight. And Jane, do you want to give us a summary? What's in the packet, or we can direct any questions?
Yeah, if you have any questions. I mean, again, most of it was just cleaning up some language in some of the different policies. I'm referring to personal leave time, leave of absence, the dress code, teacher assignments, vacancy and transfers, and then additional language to limited term positions.
And just for clarification, the stuff with the personal leave, a year ago when we had the stoppage of school in March, we were sitting there, and the change in this has to do around payout of the personal leave. And what the change is going to be is if we would have in the event of a cancellation of any face-to-face learning and that would exceed the 12 weeks, we would look at, you'd have the option of using your personal leave, having it roll over to your sick leave, and or donating to the crisis bank.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Great, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I have a conflict of interest on this item, so.
Okay.
Abstain from voting.
Thank you. Eric will abstain. Any other discussion?
Are we voting on the language here or the language that Barb will be presenting us?
What she's putting out to the staff tomorrow. So anything that we asked her to change is what we're voting on.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that clarification, Ken. Is there any additional discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried and the chair votes aye. Next up is item E, which is Wisconsin Education Convention participation. They've announced that the convention in 2021 is going to be virtual with registration opening on November 1. I went on their website today to see if there was additional details on what virtual might entail, but I couldn't find anything, so I don't know when they're going to come out with that. The convention days are the same week in January, as far as what I know. But obviously we wouldn't be traveling to Milwaukee to attend, so I've asked Pat to cancel our hotel rooms. And then, pending the outcome of what's available virtually, if anyone that wants to attend, let Pat know. He can get you signed up. But what I'd like to discuss or propose is that during that week, we have a couple, or at least one evening that we block off and do some board workshop development, whatever you want to call it, during that week. So I'm just looking for some feedback.
I think that's a good idea, is if they record the sessions, it may be a nice night that we could have, if the sessions are recorded, we could split up in multiple rooms, and then you could go from a room to room and maybe see some of the recorded sessions that maybe 2 or 3 of us are interested.
That might be a possible use of time. Again, I don't know what they're gonna offer, so, I
And
was
would
just
we
looking
have
at.
access if we haven't paid, if we haven't registered? I wonder.
And
Yeah.
I don't know what those.
Right.
We can do is look into the availability of that. If you need to register for something in order to be, which would probably make sense. You're probably not going to be available to the recorded sessions unless there'd be a registration to that, but Pat and I can look into that. We'll investigate that.
Right, so potential use of our time could be, viewing some of the sessions that were offered and then some discussion on that, or we can use it for board development for other topics. So I was looking to gauge interest or availability on 1 or 2 nights that week, because we normally have that whole time blocked off to attend.
I think it sounds like a good idea.
Okay. I see some head nodding.
We should get a keynote speaker, like Craig Anderson.
He's probably far too busy traveling to Rhinelander. This is far away.
This happens in January, right?
It does,
That'd be prior to the primary for him.
right?
He gets to relax a little. I got the puppy this weekend. He's at on
Okay.
vacation.
So once we have more information on what the sessions are going to look like, we can firm up what we might do for that week. But we'll go ahead and plan something. So thank you. And I think that's all we had. Listed to-do items. That's attachment G in your packet. We've knocked a couple of those off.
After tonight in the committee meetings beforehand, I think items that we're going to add to it. I know I spoke with Quentin, or I know Pat spoke with Quentin, but talk about a virtual art night to change the pictures in here and to get some of these pictures back to the students that were acknowledged a year and a half ago, or what, is that a year and a half ago already? Who knows? Okay, anyway, we have some lovely artwork that's still in here that we want to get back in the hands of those students. So I have that on the to-do list. The software issue with the handbook, look at that. Odyssey the Mind Coach, and the WEC convention, look more into that as far as the virtual. So
Yeah,
I'll add those to the to-do list items for the next time.
Sounds good. Any questions on our to-do list? No. Excellent.
Any other items?
I would like you to put on there something with regard to, you probably do this through your principals, but maybe some type of check-in on, from our staff, the teaching staff on, you know, workload or ways to improve our current system or something like that.
I have some ideas that I'll share later.
Thank you.
Brian, at some point, are we gonna talk about a systematic approach to policy review?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. If there's nothing else on to-do items, we will move into closed session where we'll discuss, consider, and if appropriate, take action pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.185(1)C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility regarding the superintendent's evaluation.
So moved.
Second. A motion is second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Right. Oh, it will come.
We have to take a roll call for that.
Jane? Aye. Tom?
Aye.
Robin? Aye. Ken?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We're in closed session. When we clear